Força Portugal. What a game against Croatia. Thursday night, Portugal wins 2-1, although it didn't really look like that was going to be the final score there down the stretch. So if you're one of those casual fans that saw this primetime matchup in Toronto on Thursday night, I'm sure it was a lot of fun, a whole lot of drama between Ronaldo being subbed off for the first time in this World Cup to the goals that weren't allowed down the stretch. Croatia thought they had the tying goal in the 110th minute or so, called back, VAR offsides. So much to get to with just how this game unfolded and how this game ended. The VAR, the referees, once again, a big headline in a World Cup match here in the summer of 2026. So it was a really cool experience. I'm wearing one of my Portugal jerseys at the crest right there. One of my best friends were able to watch this game at a really cool Portuguese club in Lowell, Massachusetts. It was our first time going there, and we weren't sure what to expect. Great food, great company, good atmosphere. And when it comes to this Portuguese team, we expected there to be drama. We expected there to be anxiety-inducing moments. We got that. That seems to be the MO for this for this Portuguese squad throughout the last several tournaments. Never mind the last few World Cup matches. So we'll begin, kind of go chronologically here. We'll start with the beginning of the game and the starting lineups. Of course, I wouldn't say there were any real big surprises here. The one big change that was noticeable, of course, was Rafael Leao, the AC Milan winger, starting for the first time in this World Cup. We've seen João Felix out there. Bernardo Silva started on a wing the first match of this World Cup. Leao has come in a few different times and had some mixed results, in my opinion. There are times where he looks great, he beats defenders. And then it's what my biggest critique of him has always been is then having that service. We know he's fast. We know he's good on the ball and he can get by defenders. It's always about crossing and servicing his teammates in the box. Sometimes that was lacking for Portugal, but tonight, overall, a very good performance. Let's see what he has. FOTMob, if you don't have that app, one of the best apps out there. He was the man of the match, really, for Portugal. Early on, had that incredible attempt from just outside the box. It's funny. I was sitting with my buddy watching the game at this watch party, and as he cut in, I was saying, "Rip it, Rafa!" And right as I said that, awesome attempt on net, right off the crossbar, so close. Really liked what Rafa Leao brought to this squad tonight. I think that's something they've been missing is just his speed and his ability to take defenders on one-on-one and put them in uncomfortable positions and get open and hopefully create some good moments and dangerous moments inside of the box. So Rafa Leao had that moment. One moment that really drove me nuts, and this is for the people with Ronaldo. If you feel like he's just a distraction out there, he's not what he used to be. No one's arguing that. Of course, he's not prime. He's 41 years old. He's not going to be what he used to be, but is he good enough to start in the World Cup for a team that's looking to make a deep run? That has been the question. Well, when you looked at tonight, it seems like there were a couple moments where his teammates were forcing him the ball. Nuno Mendes, in my opinion, the best left back in the world, I think a lot of other people would agree with that, is cutting his way through the defense, gets inside the box at one point early in the first half, and is straight on net. He just needs to rip it. We saw a couple games ago on a free kick where people thought Ronaldo was taking it. Oh, nope, it's Nuno Mendes, and blast it through around the wall for a goal. We saw that in the Nations League last year. The guy is an offensive weapon at left back. He got close to the net, just needed him to rip a shot. Just test the keeper, see what happens. Rip a shot. Maybe you get a corner, maybe you get a goal. He looks and forces it to the middle where Ronaldo was, doesn't get through, cleared away. And I think for all the people who were wanting to see those moments of Portugal is just forcing it to Ronaldo, and that is why he is a detriment to his team, I think that was a moment you could look to and say, well, there is the example right there. So that was frustrating because to me, if you have a wide open opportunity at the net, take it. I don't care who is in the middle, especially someone with the caliber and the skill set of Nuno Mendes. Take the shot. So that was frustrating. Of course, we go to halftime 0-0. Portugal had most of the possession in this game, especially in the first half. There were moments of going back and forth, up and down a little bit, but I wouldn't say crazy dangerous moments. There was some good service in from the wingers. Ronaldo came close on a header. Another possession down, another good cross into the box. Portugal not able to get that on target, redirect it. Viega had a couple close headers on set pieces. I liked where they were at, but I was really hoping to go in with a lead. But in traditional Portuguese fashion, that was not the case. 0-0 at halftime. So we come out and things are looking crazy at the beginning of the second half there. You're hoping Portugal can come out and really make some moves. Well, let's just say Croatia had other plans. So in the 53rd minute, they're able to find the back of the net. 8 minutes into the second half. And as a Portuguese fan, I could not believe what I was seeing. It's not necessarily any disrespect to Croatia. Croatia is a team that has made deep runs in the last two World Cups. This is their golden generation by many standards. They're obviously an older team right now with Luka Modric and some of those other guys. But to be down to this team the way they were playing with possession, and to me, this wasn't one of those games where Portugal, like against the Congo, was dominating possession to the point where it's 70, 75, maybe even 80%. It was in control, 55, 60% or so, but they were creating more chances. They were a little more advantageous. They were a little more dangerous and creative and looking into get some service into the box. They just couldn't find the back of the net. Well, thankfully, that comes in the 68th minute. We don't have to wait too terribly long to get the equalizer, which I believe this was a penalty kick on the corner. Vega is dragged down. I mean, both arms of the Croatian defender pulled down one of the biggest defenders on the field for Portugal. Point blank, has an opportunity to potentially head that in for a goal. I think that was the right call. And of course, Ronaldo buries that. His first knockout goal in his World Cup career, which is wild to think about. Thankful for it. He checks that off, finally gets that, and at least ties the game in that moment. And so I kept saying to my friend, it's really about the substitutions. What's going to happen with the substitutions? What is Roberto Martinez going to do? Is he going to be bold? He certainly was bold. But before I get to that, when it comes to Cristiano Ronaldo, he also had the goal that was called back because of offsides. And he was offsides, not arguing that. But I was just in the moment watching that, seeing the deep ball forward in his first touch and then his ability to finish that play. That was nice to see. Wherever you stand on the Ronaldo should be playing or should not be playing, it is just cool to see a play like that from him. For me and so many other, young adults who grew up and for me fell in love with World Cup soccer because of the Portuguese national team, that was an awesome moment to see that, even though it was not a goal at the end because of being offsides. So let's talk about some of those substitutions, because we talk about Roberto Martinez sometimes a little bland, a little conservative, all the talk about him wasting the Belgian golden generation and potentially now Portugal's best team ever on paper, I would say, their best roster individuals. Can you make it work and create a team that can go deep in the tournament? Of course, is his main job. So let's talk about some of these substitutes, because there were many. There were four that came on at once. And this to me, I said to my friend at the moment, of all these substitutions, is this is either going to work and Roberto Martinez is going to look like a genius, or this is going to be terrible and people are going to question him and he should be kicked out the door basically at the end of the game if they lose. So Nelson Semedo comes on for João Cancelo. Cancelo wasn't his best tonight. He's had a bit of an up and down tournament, I would say, so far. I liked him starting at right back, and I wouldn't be shocked if in the next game Nelson Semedo or Diego Dalot are starting at right back. And then Bernardo Silva came on. Sergio Conceição came on, and Gonçalo Ramos. So that was interesting to me because Gonçalo Ramos hasn't played yet. And in my opinion, Ronaldo should not have been on the field for the full 90 against Colombia in the last group stage game. Everyone was getting breaks. Everyone was coming in and out of the lineup. They didn't seem to take that Colombia game all that seriously, Portugal, for trying to win it and win the group. Well, why don't you give this guy a break? Give someone like Gonçalo Ramos some minutes. Get him some experience so when you need him in the knockouts, he's not just coming in and it's not that he's not fresh. He's just cold. He hasn't played. It's great that he doesn't have tired legs, but he needs some experience. I think that would be nice. Obviously, he didn't need that. And we'll get to that in a minute and how important his goal was, because that is something I really want to talk about. So with these substitutions, Nelson Semedo was okay. Bernardo Silva, Chico Conceição, I think he's best with the ball on his foot coming up the side. There were a couple moments where I'm watching and Rafa Leao has the ball or someone else has the ball and they're looking for service. And, no disrespect, but Conceição is not a large man. So if you're trying to target someone in the box, he should not be one of the 2 or 3 guys in the box. He needs to come in, make a move, get a shot on net. We've seen him score some awesome goals with his feet. We've also seen him provide some excellent service into the box. He's not someone I want to be targeting in the middle amongst the tall center backs of Croatia. So there was a little bit, it seemed like for about 10 or 15 minutes after all these subs were put on, that Portugal was a little bit shapeless, and it didn't seem like the guys had a great sense of where they needed to be. The lineup, the formation, some guys may be playing a little bit out of place. And all of those subs at one time, it seemed like Croatia was taking advantage of that and getting some really good opportunities and some dangerous moments. And so I was thinking in the moment, I don't know if I like all the changes that were just made. It's individually they're okay, but all at the same time, things just seemed a little disjointed. And Croatia was able to have some possession and have some moments for their team and carry some of that momentum after the hydration break. So Sergio, Gonzalo Ramos comes in, and in that point, we're talking about the formation. There was a lot of talk about Ronaldo being the sole nine up top, the sole striker up top, and a lot of the conversation was, well, at his age and his inability to press, should you have a different formation where you have him up top with Gonzalo Ramos, who's just won 2 Champions Leagues with PSG? Do you want those two up top and then maybe switch up some of the formation behind them? Does that add a little bit more to their attacking ability? Well, tonight we saw that a little bit with Ronaldo coming off and Gonzalo Ramos going in. And it seemed like, while they obviously weren't on the field together, it seemed like there was a nice sort of mix there of once they kind of got back into their shape and kind of started to figure things out from about maybe the 80th minute on, which they played for almost like another half an hour after that. And we'll get to that. Portugal were able to have some dangerous looks, and obviously Gonzalo Ramos comes in, and what was it? The 62nd minute is when all those substitutions happened. So at Gonzalo Ramos, we get to the 90th minute, and it's +10. Me and my buddy couldn't believe that. We figured it was like +5, +6. You get a couple 2 to 3 minutes because of the hydration break. Could not believe how long that went on for. And then that moment of brilliance from Leao takes one cut in, ball up in the air, right onto the head of Gonzalo Ramos, puts it under the bar. And this Portuguese place we were at went absolutely bonkers. It was so cool to see because it's such a stressful game. They were down 1-0, and then they come back and tie it with the PK. And then Ramos in additional time is able to score that goal to put Portugal ahead. And it was just so awesome for me personally because Milan is my team in Italy that I support. And Gonzalo Ramos just became a record signing over moving from PSG to Milan. And so it was really cool to see a guy who is going to be playing for the club team I support in Syria and obviously is on the Portuguese national team come through with a goal with all the talk about should he be there? Should he be starting over Ronaldo? All that talk. It didn't really matter. He just went out there and made a play with his head. And it was an enormous goal. And of course, you're thinking at that point, by the time the celebrations are over, all right, maybe we only have like 4 minutes we got to get through at most. Portugal are moving on. And as you have heard before, and as you think about it as a fan, you don't want to get ahead of yourself. And we started talking about, all right, that game on Monday, what time's that going to be at? You're going to play Spain. What's that going to look like? And Croatia weren't done yet. Now, I will say this referee was horrific for how long he actually let this game go on. I mean, I think it ended at like 1:13 after a couple of these VAR checks. I mean, man, you got to blow the whistle at some point. I understand that you got you get some extra celebration time and VAR checks, then you're not just going to end it maybe exactly where it says, but it just seemed like, okay, are we just playing? Are we doing extra time? Is kind of the thought we had. Is some of the things we were saying out loud. Some people were just, swearing up a storm, just pissed off and angry because how long can you let this go for? And it was long enough where Croatia ended up what appeared to be with a game tying goal on a nice service, goes right over a Croatian attacker in the box, bounces off the back of Vega's head. Thankfully, if you're a Portugal supporter, to the attacker who was there was offsides. And that wasn't close. I mean, he was offsides by a mile. I think the question I had was, did that actually hit a Croatian on the way in? Croatian services it in. It comes in. Croatian goes up. I couldn't tell if it actually hit his head, his back in this area here. And then it goes off the back of a Portuguese defender's head. And if it didn't touch the Croatian originally, that wouldn't be considered offsides. So then the goal would be good. And so we were very relieved to see that after some VAR checks, which kind of getting tired of those to a certain degree. Portugal's win was sealed. Croatia's goal was not good, and Portugal were able to win the game. And it was just such a, I mean, it was incredible if you're just a neutral fan. If you're a fan of one of these teams, it's just excruciating, especially if you're Croatia. It's a lot easier to sit here and talk about this now as a fan of Portugal. If you're a Croatian fan, I mean, we saw them in the stands. I mean, people are literally screaming "F you" to the referee. I mean, you can read their lips clear as day, and people are just pissed and angry because it feels like you're robbed of a goal. Now that happened a couple of other times. I brought up earlier Ronaldo's goal that he did have, where he got halfway to a sue, was disallowed because of offsides, and he was offsides. So it happens. It just I think that it's almost so storybook that the fact that they scored so late in this game, which in my opinion the game should have been over before that goal even happened anyway, but the fact that it was disallowed is just absolutely excruciating. And talking to some people who are neutral soccer fans, I know my friend and I were both getting texts saying, I mean, just how unbelievable that game was. From the drama, Ronaldo coming off for the first time in this World Cup, to the goals, both late. I mean, Ramos's goal was awesome. You have Croatia's goal. You think it's a goal, and it doesn't end up counting. So this game really had it all. It was there were some moments of some strong defending early, some good moments early from especially towards the end of the first half there, and then the second half just comes out. And I mean, it's just the second half was unbelievable, and we're really starting to see that be the trend. The trend of this World Cup is not just star player scoring; it's also late goals. We saw that with Belgium and Senegal a couple of days ago. We saw that again today. I mean, all three goals were scored in the second half. Two of them were scored. How late was that? 60th minute on. Let me get the times here. So we had, well, the first goal was what, the 53rd? I said 53rd, Ronaldo 68th, and then Ramos 90 plus four. And then the Croatian potential tying game if it wasn't a goal, if it wasn't offsides, even later than that. So now you look ahead. Now that it's official, we can look ahead to Spain. And I'm very curious to see what that lineup for Roberto Martinez is going to look like. And I have to give him credit. When they first agreed to hire Roberto Martinez as the manager, I know me and many family members and friends, teams who watched the Portuguese national team, were not thrilled with that because the MO around him is, well, Belgium had this golden generation and they didn't do enough with it. And who do you blame that on? Do you put that on the players? Do you put that on the coach? Maybe it's a little bit of both. A lot of people put it on the coach because the players perform very well. Kevin De Bruyne, Hazard, Vincent Company, some of those other guys perform very well for their clubs. And that's the thing with Portugal right now. You look at Vitinha and João Neves, Nuno Mendes, Gonçalo Ramos. They just won back-to-back Champions Leagues with PSG. Bruno Fernandes just set a record in the English Premier League for assists in a season. And he's probably the most disappointing player for this Portuguese squad through these first four games of the World Cup. Bruno Fernandes was one of the guys subbed off. Pedro Neto was subbed off. I think I'm okay with Pedro Neto not starting again on the wing for Portugal. I don't think he's really done a whole lot. I don't think he's very dynamic right now. And it's not to say that he's a bad player. I just think with what they could have out there, you have Sergei Conceição, which I do like him as a super sub. You also have João Felix, we've seen. Not sure if I start him. How about Trincao? Can Trincao get on the pitch at all? I think he's a guy that we could see out there. I think he'd be great. He's been very good in the Portuguese league. He scored a goal in one of the friendlies leading up to the World Cup. I would hate to see this entire tournament go by and him not even get a minute. I think there's some better options there. I think we can be a little creative there. But where I do give Roberto Martinez credit is making those four subs. As I said a few minutes ago, he's either going to look like a genius or he's going to look terrible. And for about 10 or 15 minutes, it did not look good. It didn't. But at the end of the day, they got the win and they're moving on to play Spain on Monday. And so I give him credit for that. We'll see what happens with the lineup and some of his substitutions on Monday. I am confident, I'll say. It's not necessarily that I guarantee Portugal are going to beat Spain, but I think people are already writing Spain into the next round. Portugal beat them a year ago. It may have not even been technically 365 days ago in the Nations League final. Portugal beat them to win a trophy in Europe. Why can't they do it again? Spain are coming back to life after their draw with Cape Verde and everyone was freaking out. Lamine Yamal's looking more like himself. So it's not to say that the Spain team is weak in any sense, but Portugal's proven they can beat this team. Practically probably player for player a year ago. Why can't they do it again? And I know that Spain has Yamal, and they have some obviously world class players in the midfield, and they have some guys who are able to score there, and they have the ability to just have that resume and have the confidence of a team that's won a World Cup and put that pressure on Portugal. I thought at times Portugal's press on Croatia tonight was solid. There are moments where I think they in the second half they got a little slow, but there were a couple moments there where pressing put Croatians defenders in tough moments where they tried to clear it, go out of bounds, get a deflection, turnover. And that maybe is an area where if you're also again trying to say maybe Ronaldo shouldn't be starting, maybe that's an area Gonzalo Ramos can do a little bit more of. Not that Ronaldo was lazy, I wouldn't go that far, but he's definitely not pressing as much as maybe somebody else could who's younger, maybe has a little more stamina and energy. So, Diogo Costa, we haven't talked about him. I mentioned at one point during this game that he may be Portugal's best player so far throughout all the games, the most consistent player. He's made some big saves. We've seen what he can do in big tournaments on PKs. Really enjoy Diogo Costa. Surprised he's not playing for a bigger club in a bigger league in Europe. There were a couple moments tonight. Man, he didn't look great. He came out real fast, real aggressive, and that bit him a couple times there. Thankfully, again, one of the goals was disallowed. And I really like him. I think we need to smarten up a little bit. Some of the moments out there, you don't want to get beat like that. And the Portugal defense at times wasn't awesome. And I think coming into the tournament, that was their biggest question mark. It wasn't necessarily who's going to start up front. Is it Ronaldo or not? I figured they would score. They haven't, I mean, outside of Uzbekistan, scored a ton of goals, but they've had, you score 1, 2, 3 a game, somewhere in that range. It just can't be zeros. Can't be zeros. Absolutely cannot be zeros. You like 2 or 3, of course. My biggest question mark was going to be their defense. Coming into it, it seemed like Ruben Dias and Gonzalo Inacio were going to be the two starting center backs, and then Vegas played pretty much the whole time. And if you look at it in that sense, it's okay. Did Inacio lose the job or did Vega earn it? There are times Vega, especially off these set pieces, has been there to potentially put in some goals with his head. Missed a couple close opportunities tonight. But I think that was their big question mark. And who was going to start at right back? Was it going to be Joao Cancelo? And, he was supposed to be the next big right back for Portugal. He's kind of been all over the place, but had a good resurgent year. And obviously, Nuno Mendes is world class at left back. But it was really that center I was worried about. Ruben Dias also coming in with a bit of an injury into the World Cup. So I'm glad to see that overall, the defense hasn't been their Achilles heel. My concern is moving forward when you start facing Spain's. If you potentially win that game and you're facing the U.S., which has been very good on the attack, which I think the U.S. will beat Belgium, and it's going to be USA Spain or USA Portugal, I think, in that next quarterfinal match. How does your defense hold up there? I think moving forward into this lineup, you look at it, I think Ronaldo's going to start. You can be the judge on if he should or not. I think he will be the starter. I'd like to see Leao start again on the left side. And Bruno Fernandes, should he be starting in the center? Which kills me to say, because after his season at Manchester United, it should be a no-brainer that this guy is the starting center attacking mid. And I just don't know if he's done enough consistently. I would say he really hasn't, which sucks because I think he's a world-class player and he's just not playing like it right now, whether it's his system or whether it's just, some tough luck. I don't know if he should be starting there. Bernardo Silva played today, and he should not be on the wing, Bernardo Silva, ever. He started the first game of the World Cup on the wing. He needs to be in the middle. So is he someone you put there? Ruben Neves came onto this game. Is he going to play in the back where maybe do you bring up a Vitinha to play in that role and then Ruben Neves is back with João Neves? Do you put those two together? And then again on the right side, Trincao, João Felix, Pedro Neto, Conceição. Francisco Conceição. I may have been saying his dad's name through some of this. Chico Conceição, Francisco Conceição, Sergio's father. So I think Roberto Martinez, you got some interesting decisions to make down the line here. And the way I look at it is if you make the right ones, I think you can beat Spain. If you make the wrong ones and you go down again, well, you've seen you can make the right substitutions to hopefully get back at it. I mean, the margins for beating Spain are going to be a lot slimmer than they are against a team like Croatia. No doubt about that. But I'm confident with the right pieces to the puzzle here. Portugal can beat Spain. But before we even get to that, I mean, that's going to be an awesome game. And it's just a few days, which feels weird because some of these group stage matches were 5, 6, 7 days apart. I think mostly 6 days apart. And it's almost a week. You're waiting a long time. And this is just a few days away. So quick turnaround in a way compared to what they've been used to. Very excited, but an awesome win. It was a thrilling win. Again, it's never easy. It's never quick. It's never painless with this Portugal national team, but that's what makes you love them so much. So we'll see what happens. Roberto Martinez, I'd like to see some tweaks. I think keep some of what you've been doing, maybe adjust a little bit. That right side, Pedro Neto, can we do a little bit better than that? We'll find out.